10 seconds.
Hey y'all, welcome back. Carolina XC round 8, second moto. And as you can see here, I actually managed to get a pretty decent start in the sand. A lot of people going down like usual. I had a little trouble right here in this corner, but actually managed to make it through in second place. And I was second coming into the woods, which is, pretty good start, all things considered. Of course, I immediately lost it. So yeah, I didn't even know what was going on myself. But as you may have noticed, it's the second moto that we're starting with here, and that is because, unfortunately, I did not get to participate in the first moto. Here goes everybody passing me now. Just like the day before, though, my bike fouled a plug the first time I started it up. But unfortunately, this time, I did not have a spare spark plug on hand. I had ordered some the previous night, but obviously it wasn't enough time for them to show up yet, so I didn't have anything. I tried in vain to get the fouled plug clean and working enough, and I did get it to fire up once, but it immediately died as soon as I gave it throttle, so a bit unfortunate. And I spent the length of the first moto walking around the pits asking people if they had a plug that might fit. Very fortunately, I found a guy that did indeed have one. Funnily enough, it was a plug to a Cobra 50, I think he said it was. But it did fit the Husky, and I was able to get it going, thankfully. I gave him $5 for the plug, so I think that was a pretty fair trade. It sucked, but that's just what happens. I think, and I believe I mentioned this in the previous video, but I think it's just the top end is ready to be rebuilt. At this point, it's got like 60 or 65 hours on it, something like that. It's up there, so it's pretty much time to do it. I am going to be hard-headed, though. And there is one more CXC round, so I'm going to run the same top end for that last round. And then I'm going to do the rebuild there before Mid-East starts so that I have a fresh top end for the first half of the Mid-East season. And then I'll probably end up rebuilding it again during the summer break. But yeah, so anyway, started with the second moto. I was worried I wasn't going to do that great because everyone else was already warmed up from the first moto, and I was absolutely cold on the bike. And more or less that's how it played out. I didn't get dead last, but I was way back in the pack, so it is what it is. I'm honestly not too upset about it. I was just happy that I got to race at all because, it would have really sucked to have driven that hour and a half ride and not get to ride the bike at all. So thankfully I did get to race. Unfortunately, points-wise, that set me back. I'm still in third in the Open C class points-wise, but I am exactly 1 point ahead of fourth place, and it's actually Cooper that's in fourth. Me and Cooper were kind of trading back and forth at the beginning of the season, but here the last few rounds he's been consistently beating me. So I think this next round he's gonna pass me in points and knock me back to fourth. So I won't get the podium finish for the class. But at the end of the day, I'm not too upset about it because last season I ended up finishing, I think it was 8th in the class. Hang on, let me look. I got my plaque behind me. Yeah, it was 8th. 8th in Open C last season, 4th in Open C this season. I think that's a pretty good improvement, and I'm not gonna cry over it. That being said, I am not gonna just lay down and give up the last round. I'm gonna give it my all and see if I can beat Cooper one more time and keep third. We'll see. Unfortunately, Cooper had a little bit of trouble at this race as well. His Cowie messed up on him on the first moto, so he didn't even get to complete the entirety of the first moto. They didn't look into it while they were at the track, so I still have no idea what exactly happened with it. But for the second moto, he lined up on his dad's Yamaha 450F, which is a big bike for this kind of riding. Well, at least I feel that way. I don't know. It might have been pretty good for the deep sand. Could probably just freaking motor straight through that deeper stuff. But yeah, he was expressing some concerns about racing it, especially because I think he said it was the first time he's really ever ridden it outside of just kind of putting it around some. So that's a big jump to go from a 250 to a 450 in a race situation. But he did do really good. From what I can see, he beat me. I don't know where he ended up overall in the moto, but he did pretty decent on it. So good job, dude. As you see, the weather was great. It was even better than the day before. Track-wise, I think they had cleaned some areas up in between the 2 days, but I didn't get to race until the very last moto, so as far as I could tell, the track was pretty much exactly the same. There were some interesting new lines that had opened up, and I spent the first couple of laps trying to figure out all the new lines and see which ones were better, just trying some out here and there. But for the most part, the track was exactly the same, and the weather was a little warmer, so my lips didn't get absolutely chapped like they did the first day. Although, that being said, on my last lap, a stick somehow managed to poke my lip on the inside of my... I don't even know how it happened. It must have went under my helmet, because I don't think it would have went above, and between that gap between my chin bar and my goggles, but yeah, somehow it just managed to go into my helmet and poke me in the lip and cut my lip open. So on the last lap, I was dealing with my lip bleeding. You can kind of hear it some. I definitely noticed it a lot more actually riding the bike, but the bike didn't seem to like that spark plug very much. And it didn't like the one I'd had in there previously anyway, and I think that was down to the heat range. And this plug was the same heat range, but it seemed like it was even worse. Just right off as you crack the throttle, it seems like it was breaking up a lot more. But then once it kind of got into the power, it would clean up. But yeah, it was a bit weird. It did seem to get a little better as the race went on, but yeah, I didn't like it. This little line here had opened up on this last part of the woods right here. It was a really good line. I liked it. So that was it for the first lap. Yeah, it wasn't the greatest, but I was cold on the bike and everybody else had already had a chance to warm up, so it is what it is. Here we are on the last lap, and I was following this guy, and I was saying to myself, if there's anything I do, I want to beat at least this guy. So that was kind of my motivation for the last lap here. I was thinking I was going to get around him here as we got to this little whoop section. And I saw this line to the left, and I tried to take it, but then I'm not even sure where it went. I guess it just went through those trees. But I stopped and got back on the main line because they had been warning people about cutting the track a lot at the starts of the race. I think they said something about it second moto yesterday, and they said something about it again second moto today. So I just didn't want to take a risk of taking a line that took me too far off the track and got me into trouble. So I bailed on that. Didn't get around the guy. I was going to try again here, coming through this section into this corner. He took this outside line, and I tried to take the inside line, but I kind of bobbled coming in and kind of fixated on that tree in front of me. I was afraid I was about to hit that tree, so I slowed down, and again, he stayed ahead of me. You can hear me there complaining about my lip. Kind of sucked. It was definitely hurting. So he ends up getting around this guy in the orange here, I believe. Yeah. The guy in the orange took like an outside line and he got around him. And I was thinking, oh great, I'm going to get stuck behind this guy and not be able to catch up with him. But fortunately, I think up here he just kind of stops and lets me go by, so that worked out. As you can see, I had fallen quite a bit behind the other guy though, and I was trying to play catch up. Took this inside line here. It's definitely a little faster than the outside line he took. So that saved me a little time there, and I was able to get back on his heels. So I'm caught back up with him again coming into here, and I was thinking that in this next open whoop section I'd be able to open it up and get around him. But I think he had the same idea, or at least as far as trying to keep ahead of me, because he got on it pretty good too. It's hard to go fast through that stuff anyway. So we were getting towards the end of the lap, and I was thinking, man, I'm just not going to be able to get around him. But then he took that right line, and I took this new left line, and was finally able to make the pass, and it felt pretty good there. So right at the end of the lap, I accomplished my goal, which was awesome. And that's it.
What up, man? Did you do 5 laps?
I think so.
So results time. First moto, of course, DNF. You see there, Cooper only made 2 laps before his bike messed up too. Second moto, I was 6 out of 7, so not last, thankfully. And I was in 6th the whole time, which is pretty interesting. And then overall, of course, didn't do too hot. I'm all the way down near the bottom, 53rd, down there with the other people that DNF'd. And that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you at the next one.